Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. Today I have a very exciting video to share with you guys. I know some of you have started your first year of college, which means you are taking your first computer science class.
Did I hear computer science?
Oh hey Shalini, I was hoping we could give tips to first year computer science students.
That sounds great. And hey everyone, my name is Shalini and my channel is about technology, data science, professional development advice, my life in tech, and other videos. Now let's get into it. First up is asking questions. It is so important to ask questions in general, but especially for computer science. A lot of the classes you'll be taking are foundational to a lot more advanced classes you'll be taking later on in your college career. If you're confused about something, ask questions and get clarifications on it. When you ask questions, you learn something new, you can put things together, and you can remember things better. Also, if you have a question, there's a good chance that someone else in the class also has the same exact question, so you'll be helping yourself out and other people out at the same time.
Tip number 2 is to look for more examples and help. You can check out my video on where to get started learning how to code because there's some amazing free resources which, whether you're in computer science or not, you can benefit from, but they definitely give a lot of online examples at Udemy and Codecademy, so check that out. Also, don't ever underestimate the power of going to office hours because if your professor has them, you should take advantage of them. Oftentimes professors will give hints on quizzes and tests, so it's always good to go to office hours. Even if you don't have your own questions, other students in office hours will have their questions and you can kind of hear what they are thinking about and what challenges they're facing, and then you'll be able to see what the professor does to address them, and you'll be learning a lot more than just getting what you get from class. So definitely check out some more resources and go to office hours.
Another tip you want to make sure you start practicing is commenting your code as you write it. Documentation and writing comments is a huge part of computer science, especially when you get to industry. People often collaborate on coding projects and work together. By commenting your code, it makes it easier for people who are reading your code to understand what's going on. Otherwise, it can be pretty hard for people to understand what you're doing and what your logic was behind the code that you wrote. Comments aren't just helpful for other people though, it's also really helpful for you too. Let's say that you're working on a CS project and you pause it for a few days and then decide to come back to it. The comments will help you refresh your memory about what the exact logic was behind the code that you wrote. If you didn't have any comments, you would forget how you implemented your logic in code and potentially spend a lot more time trying to understand it and pick up where you left off. So on a very similar note, the 4th tip is to compile as you're writing your code. This gives you a shorter feedback loop, which is generally a good thing. This means that you can quickly fix any errors that you have in your code early on. Let's take a small but very common example. Let's say you're coding a project in Java and you have lots of different methods and functions that you need to write. Let's also say that you forgot a semicolon at the end of one of your statements in the beginning. If you check and compile each function right after you code it, you can make sure that there aren't any errors and every function is doing what it's supposed to be doing. We want to try and avoid running it for the very first time after you've written tons of lines of code. It will be a lot harder to pinpoint individual errors at that point.
Tip number 5 is to not wait till the last minute to start a project because you never know how long it will take. And a lot of people in computer science think that they can do something in a few hours or even a day. And you know, maybe there is a small percentage of people that really can do that, but that person was not me in college. I definitely needed to start early on projects just so that if I had struggles in the beginning or in the middle, I still would have time to ask the professor and get help so that I could still finish the project on time. And depending on where you go to school, there may be a penalty and a reduction in your grade if you turn something in late. So there's a lot of incentive for you to start working early, get your questions answered, and as your peers work on it and you work on it, you'll just be able to get through it a lot more easily.
The next tip is to communicate with your peers. They are literally another resource to help you out in your CS journey. They're also in the same class as you, and they're doing the same projects and homeworks and everything as you. If you don't quite understand something in class, and maybe the professor and the TAs are explaining it, but you still don't quite get it, consulting your peers is a great option because they might be able to explain it in a different way that you understand. Computer science in general is a very collaborative field. Working on projects in a team within a company is pretty standard, so why not get a head start and communicate with your peers? Tip number 7. Don't be afraid to seek out projects that spark joy. A lot of intro CS classes can seem dull, especially with some standard, boring projects that don't seem relevant to your life. I have definitely been there, especially with analyzing data sets about basketball players all the time in class. So instead, do your own fun little side projects outside of class, something that excites you. If you need some inspiration, look online and try something out. This is a great chance to try and apply some of the skills that you're learning in class to a project that you're actually interested in, and you can keep building upon that. Maybe even combine this with the previous tip. You can collaborate with some of your peers on an external project and make something amazing. Just make sure to comment and compile along the way.
The next tip is to communicate with upperclassmen to find out which professor's learning style may work for you, and also to find out which classes you may be taking in the future. So many of you might not know the course schedule for your computer science major, and a lot of times you can try to find that on your school's website by searching the course catalog. They may have an outline of the courses you can take, but it's the upperclassmen who know who teaches which class. The upperclassmen know the order you can take classes, and a lot of times the upperclassmen know which courses are offered in the fall and which are offered in the spring. So they can be very, very helpful in making sure that you get your graduation requirements done on time. The upperclassmen also know which teachers they like best, which teachers have a certain learning style, and they can explain that to you so you can find which professor you might like best. We can all agree that having a good professor can make a huge difference in learning something new. So don't be afraid to talk to your upperclassmen about who's teaching what and what they are like when they teach, and also what courses are being offered.
Something that is so great about college are the numerous organizations and clubs that exist, specifically the computer science or technology related clubs. Which brings me to tip number 9, join a computer science related club. In college, a computer science related club can look like a lot of different things. Maybe it's a club that teaches computer science to younger kids. Maybe it's a club focused on a specific field of computer science, like data science or artificial intelligence. Maybe it's more of a consulting club where you build software for different companies. Maybe you're helping organize a hackathon. Whatever the club is, join something that interests you, maybe even a few that interest you, and be a part of it. I love college clubs because it's a great way to meet people outside of your classes who are also interested in similar things as you. It's also a really great way to expand your knowledge of computer science outside of the literal text and projects that you'll be coding in class.
The last tip that I want to give you guys is probably the most important, and the tip is to not be discouraged if you don't get the grade that you want. Remember that trying and failing is a part of life, learning something new is difficult, and something like computer science, especially if you haven't been exposed to it in earlier years of schooling, it may be something different and something that you are not used to testing on and thinking about. And just because you may not get the highest grade in the class doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It doesn't mean that you can't show your skills, because again, grades don't define you. A score isn't always comprehensive of what you know on a subject. And you can still find ways to showcase your skills on your resume that don't involve just a number GPA. And I actually have a video on resumes if you want to check that out. But yes, remember, it's okay if you don't get a perfect score in your computer science class. It's gonna happen because it happened quite a bit for me, and you're still gonna be fine, and you're gonna learn a lot for computer science. That concludes this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching our tips for freshmen in computer science. Be sure to check out Shalini's channel. I will link it in the description box below. And a new collab video will be posted on her channel on Sunday, October 18th. And we will be discussing and comparing the undergraduate college experience with graduate school. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Shalini, for your tips today.
Of course, anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
See you soon.